What's up, everyone? My name is Dakota, and the day has finally come that we're going to look at a Yorion pile. Really, I hate maybe not necessarily Yorion, but the decks that it creates. A lot of the Yorion piles called Honey Pile because we play a set of Rag, a set of Ren and Six. We play Time Rattler. I mean, comparatively, is play set of Solitude. Furies are pretty expensive. Play set of those, and then the mana base itself is pretty. And as you can see by the tabletop total, definitely not a cheap deck to play. Even on like Moto, it's not even half the price that it's table. So why is this deck so expensive? We're gonna find out as we go through the deck list like we normally do. Obviously, four color blink, four control, whatever you call it, elementals, gibberish, garbage, BS. Like this is basically what. So it's led by Yorion, the Sky Nomad. If your starting deck contains at least 20 cards or more deck size, in this case, you 60 cards for your main deck for modern. I believe like just about every constructed form, not like a standard variant. Um, Essentially to then be able to pay or to have this as your companion, which Yorion is really good. Just a 4/5 for 5 flyer, and then I can blink like your Waddles, your other slew of elementals, your Omnath, reset maybe some of your planeswalkers, and even like abundant growth and like spreading seas. Essentially being that abundant growth, spreading seas, and Omnath all have a draw card on them, which is probably the best three words that you could have on a magic card. And then obviously Fury and Solitude, being able to get rid of creatures, Fury by hopefully dealing enough damage to kill them, and killing multiples at that. Solitude being a swords the shares on the body. Ice Fang Quaddle also having a draw card on it. Yeah, just all really good. Just a way to like kind of grind out value. Yorion also having uh the upside of if you just need a white card to pitch to Solitude, you can pay 3 Yorion hand, and then you have something to pitch to Solitude because the game plan doesn't even necessarily revolve around Yorion. You're playing an 80 card deck that's playing a lot of very powerful spells. Ragavan obviously being probably one of the best one drops that you could play in the format that's not named Dragon Rage Channeler. Deals a damage, you can steal a card off your opponent's library and ramp treasure. Iceman Quaddle draws a card, even though it's a 1/1 flyer. You do play enough like snow permanents, mainly like in the basic set, that it will have death touch some amount of time, and the fact that this can like with other creatures and stuff like in the format. Obviously, also take down Ragavan uh, as flash, so your opponent really have some instant with it. Doesn't really get picked off very easily by red and six, and when we're one fury and one endurance. I mean, these are obviously the endurance is here because a card that's really good against like the graveyard decks, especially in game one when they have to contend with like say a living end that goes off. You really probably don't have that play anyway, where you get some value off of like Ragavan and Ice Fang Quaddle. Endurance just getting to shuffle your opponent's graveyard back into their deck, and then you're getting a back. Maybe another pitch elemental, depending on like the snare. Endurance just has a lot of applications that end up being like very good. So just good as like a one up to have just to hedge against. Fury really good against the creature decks, like just absolutely can obliterate them. Uh, Honestly, if your opponent just keeps a landlight hand with mana dorks and stuff, like Fury just kind of ends the game. Solitude, the only four of like the pitch elementals in the deck, and honestly, it does a lot. Like it does a lot. All right, like getting just to pitch another white card to get rid of like the biggest thing on the table that maybe Fury can't pick off, like Titans from the Amulet Titan deck, opposing Yorions and things are just some of the things of this it and also get rid of like Orient champions and things like that. And then of course, four Omnath Locust Creation, four colors excluding black. when it enters, you draw a card, and then when for its landfall ability, the first land comes into play, you gain 4 life. The second one enters, you make mana. The third time, it deals 4 to each opponent and each planeswalker that you control, which can be a really good way of like really stopping those reaching their ultimate. Just getting to play like a fetch land the turn that like comes out to like gain 4. Really hoses like burn decks or like very aggressive decks because there's a 4/4. It's a pretty big body, and the fact that you just play a fetch land, gain 4, then crack the fetch and just gain another opponent's turn is huge. Getting 8 life against those aggressive decks and then being stunt them with like solitudes, furies, and things like that, and even like Ice-Fang Quaddle to a point. It makes this deck very hard to be super aggressive against, unless it just has a relatively raw. Um, Moving on to the Planewalkers, Red and 6, very Time Raveler. Time Raveler just working very well in tandem with the pitch elementals and even like some of the other creatures, like Ragavan, Abundant Growth, and Spreading Seas as well. Just getting to bounce those things as a hand, draw a card, and then getting to redeploy them. Draw cards in the case of like Ice-Fang Quaddle and your 6 enchantments, and then doubling up on Solitude, exiling a creature, Fury coming down and killing, Endurance to shuffle graveyards back. Just very versatile. Obviously, make sure opponent play at sorcery speed, which can be really good at just making sure that your spells resolve, and then even being able to cast like cards like Prismatic Ending and instant speed. Your counter spells just being not only hard counters, not able to be responded to. Casting instant speed, expressive iterations, pretty good. People already do it at sorcery speed, doing it at instant speed, a million times better. And it's hard to be a million times better than probably being the best sorcery in the format. And then the other planeswalker we play, Ren and 6. Ren 6 has been pretty good since its release in the OG modern. Getting to pick up a land from your graveyard, put it in your hand. This deck does get to play cards like Otawara, Soaring City, which bounces artifact, creature, enchantment, or planeswalker to its owner's hand. You have like the Triomes, which you could like cycle Rogran Triome, Kateria Triome, and I believe it gets to play Spare's Headquarters, which is Ant Triome. Uh, Soken Crucible of Defiance to make 1/1s. I believe it also plays the Beseiju. Yeah, Beseiju down here. That looks like that's it. I kind of thought it would maybe play, well, I guess it's either a Ganjo or Shizu or something like that, but really it's probably the only ones that it needs. Obviously, also can just pick up fetch lands as well to make sure that you hit your land drops. Are really good in tandem. Omnath, just making sure that you have a fetch land so you can either end up gaining 7 life in between 2 turns or just adding a bunch of mana to be cast, hard cash like your Solitude and things like that. Moving on to the other spells in the deck, March of Otherworldly Light is a white and X. You can pitch white cards from your hand, and then actually makes this cost 2 less. And then you can exile target artifact, creature, or enchantment with mana less. Kind of gets to play like the 5th prismatic ending, even though it has the upside of being an instant by itself, so you don't need Time Raveler to prismatic ending at instant. And some of your other white cards, like if you have extra furies on paths, uh, obviously like prismatic endings and like, it can just get cheaper and exile like bigger things scaled up, but again, you don't need to usually exile something with 2 or 3. So prismatic ending, pretty good. Unholy Heat and Counterspell. Unholy Heat is probably the best 1 mana removal spell that we had in the format, probably since Fatal Push was like introduced to the format. Just because Heat getting to kill things with like 6, essentially with 6 toughness or less, uh, is very powerful. Mainly because I can kill Titan where Fatal Push can't. This can kill Yorion where things like that, and those are some of like the bigger creatures that are in the format currently that Unholy Heat kind of tag and get rid of, while also just being very efficient for its cost. And even just getting to deal 2 damage like in the early game too. There's a lot of early game kill. So Unholy Heat just kind of like scales to the late pretty well. Kind of like Fatal Push does, but can kill a few more like the key creatures in the push can. Also, especially since we're not playing black, Fatal Push feasible. So Unholy Heat is definitely a very good substitute for Fatal. For Counterspell, I mean, you can support it very easily with cards like Abundant Growth, just being able to fetch Triome on like turn one, and then even just like getting to play another fetch land to go either fetch out like one of your dual lands or snow covered island. You're really not compromising. Like the mana in this deck is very very good, not only because it gets to play fetch lands, but well, probably just because you just get a whole bunch of like fixing and stuff like that. Eldrami's Call. Getting a search for a creature, reveal it, put it in your hand, shuffle. This gives you a lot of utility because essentially your one of elemental, your one of fury and endurance and things like that all just become essentially three ofs because of all. So you can like call for a fury and then fury pitch like Ragavan or whatever. Obviously, you get to have the benefits of pitching like fury and things like that, and just being able to do it. You can also just get like obviously Omnath or Solitude, Icefang Quaddle, Ragavan, basically whatever like card fits the situation the best. If you need to like stabilize, you're probably getting like Math. If you want more aggressive, you're probably taking like Ragavan or something like. Um, Obviously Ragavan probably not being probably honestly the worst creature out of all these. Like maybe Icefang Quaddle is, but like Ragavan being near like the bottom, you really want Eldorami's Call to get like Fury, Solitude, or Endurance, or just going and grabbing an Omnath to kind of put the game to bed. Fourth expressive iteration, I think that this is probably the best sorcery in the format. No doubt. I mean, a lot of decks just kind of like build around this card, being to play like just free spells, making sure they hit their and things like that. So of course, the most expensive slash like deck that's mana base can handle playing a blue red spell and then playing like, four color creature, like and then going and playing a double white spell, of course, is going to be inspiration. Memory Deluge, essentially their way of like fixing dig through time, where you get to look at X cards or X is the mana spent to cast a spell, and you put two in hand, flashes back for 7 mana, just gives you something to do like in the late game, like when you have Omnath and you have fetch lands, and you're just able to like crack immediately, add 4, paying the flashback cost essentially for 3 mana and getting you to leave up 2 mana for like counterspell, Elder Army Call, or even getting to expressive iteration, things like that. The amount of possibilities that you're able to do, like with Omnath in conjunction with more expensive spells, and like the mana ability, quote unquote, that he provides when you hit your land drops. Finally, and I've referenced them obviously a few times, kind of going through my whole spiel and everything. But Abundant Growth enters, draws a card, lets your land tap for 1 mana of any color. Can enchant any land. You could enchant a fetch land if you wanted to, if you were feeling so bold. Um, and Spreading Seas essentially getting to do the same thing. Enters, draws a card, but the enchanted land island. Try using this more to kind of like screw up your opponent's like mana base. Maybe tag like a Valakut or something like that if they're like other version of like so on and so forth. Just cards that kind of like draw cards when they come into play. One fixes your mana, one messes with your opponent's mana, and then Yorian, if it enters, can just like blink all of them and then put them back into play. You end up drawing a bunch of lands. Beseiju. We had the green channel land Beseiju. We had Sozinkan or Sokinzan. I don't know how I messed that. And then we have Otawara, which are like the channel lands that all do something that you can pick up with 6. Breeding Pool, Hollow Fountain, Temple Garden, Stomping Ground, Steam Vents, Triomes, basic lands, some more dual lands in Sacred Foundry, and a few of the Ikoria with a playset of some of the blue fetch lands, and even like surprisingly a lot of like non fetch lands. Like you're playing eight blue fetch lands in Misty Rainforest and Flooded Strand, and you're also playing like 3 Wooded Foothills and Windsheath. Um, Crazy to think that green is actually like a color that you want a lot of the time. Just be able to cast like things like Abundant Growth, have like half of your mana for like Elder Mummy's Call, Ren and 6, and that, and then fetch lands also grab any of your other like islands and stuff that are in the deck, being like your dual stuff like that. You like your Kateria Triome and your Rogren Triome, things like that. The sideboard, I wouldn't look too much into it. I see Emrakul the Promised End is kind of like a typical card. If you play this like against the you play this against like the Yawgmoth deck and you're able to like go off, you could kill them by like, activating other things over and over again. Force of Vigor, Hammer is still a deck that like you're worried about essentially beating. Like even though you have answers for Hammer and things like that, definitely having more answers for Hammer never hurt anybody. At least it never hurt me. Magus to mess with the other kind of like Yorion decks, where if you can just get this down early enough, you could be fine against it, and your opponent screwed. More endurance for graveyard decks. Veil of Summer, still a very powerful card. Like it less, particularly in this format, but if the format shifts more towards like mid-rangey type decks and grindy like attrition battles, then I like Veil of Summer just being like a cryptic command like it has been printed. More graveyard hate in Relic of Progenitus. Obviously does a very good job, just like essentially being 2 mana, exile all cards, and you self when you activate the card. Flusterstorm against like some of the like spell based decks. Really hard for them to beat it once there's been like 2 spells cast. Alpine Moon, I believe this is like an Urza Saga deck because you could like name Urza Saga and then your opponent like plays Saga, but Saga can't get any counters, so it just dies. Explosives, a really good card. Obviously, Rhinos, that. And then Beseiju because you can never have too much artifact enchantment on basic land hate. Because Tron is a menace to society even in 2022, and I don't think anybody really plays it. But kick them while they're down. Just keep kicking them until Tron lands are banned. Um, and so that's 4-color blink, aka Money Pile, aka Sky Noodle beatdowns, slash like weird elementals, but not elementals. Sometimes they play ephemerate, sometimes. Um, Overall thoughts on the deck itself. I mean, this deck is very good. Obviously, it just keeps putting up results. I mean, you even see like on the side here, like multiple 5-0s, like in just the blink category. Them are 2-color blink piles. The 4-color blink pile, I think, is just it's very good and just kind of has game against like a lot of the form because it does get to play a lot of these pitch elementals, Ice Fang Quaddles, right? Gets to play a lot of like the most powerful cards in the so if you guys are interested in giving it a try, go ahead and take a loan out at your bank for a measly $2,000, and you can play this deck and start taking on tournaments. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like. Check out some of the other modern decks that we checked out on the channel, and be sure to keep an eye out for other videos by subscribing, of course, hitting the bell if you already haven't. Thank you. But if you haven't, make sure you turn on notifications, subscribe to the channel so you can get notified when I upload other modern decks, Pioneer decks, along with other like breaking down certain cards of the and a bunch of other stuff, hopefully coming in the soon future. That's gonna do it for me. Video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the